Imagine spending your whole life working, saving, and dreaming of finally living in the country you love.
Only to open up the paper one morning and find yourself being labeled as a freeloader.
That is exactly what's happening right now to a small group of American retirees in France.
There's been a recent amendment proposed in the French National Assembly that aims to change the way that foreign, non-EU immigrants enter into the French national health insurance system.
And here's the twist. We agree with the idea behind this change, but the dialogue around it is deceptive and destructive. So in this video, we're going to talk about why that is. We have some things that we want our French viewers to know, some things we want our American viewers to know, and we're just going to talk about why this dialogue can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Raina.
I'm Jason.
We are Baguette Bound.
Okay, so here's the deal. Under the current law, all immigrants in France who arrive in France with a long-stay, renewable visitor visa can, after 90 days, become a French resident. And then you can apply for French public health insurance, or French social sécurité. And because of the US and France tax treaty, income for Americans in France is taxed where it originates. So, for American retirees with an American-based pension or other type of retirement plan income, that means that they'll continue to pay their taxes on their retirement in the US, but not pay taxes in France. Here, it's important to stop and recognize that there are some funding mechanisms or some tax charges, often called PUMA charge or the PUMA tax, P-U-M-A. This charge or tax, it allows for, or it sometimes requires, non-working foreigners who are living in France to contribute or to pay taxes into the social system. But the PUMA tax, it only applies to certain types of income, things like capital gains or investment type incomes. And generally it excludes or does not tax at all retirement incomes.
Right. So while some wealthy American retirees in France are paying into the French social system through this PUMA charge, many are not.
Yeah.
Just their income doesn't meet the qualifications. That's not ideal or feels very fair. Everyone who lives and works here in France pays into Social Security. And wealthy immigrants choosing to retire to France and join the social system should also have a way to contribute.
We definitely support that. And every American that we have interacted with, they really also agree with this concept. They're also just as shocked as you might be that this is how it's currently set up to work.
Yes.
So the problem, from our opinion, isn't really with the idea that people who are using the healthcare and have high incomes or the assets available should have a way to contribute into the French social system.
Right.
The problem
no-brainer.
really is just the way that it's being talked about.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what we've seen, the media and even some politicians have suggested that Americans are flocking to France for the free, we know it's not free, healthcare. And there's this whole story and narrative being built around this that it's just not true. First of all, it's hard to move to France. It can be expensive, complicated, and time-consuming for an American to move here. And no offense to any of our British compatriots, but Americans can't just get in their car or hop on a train and arrive in France quickly and easily. No. This is a really big deal. We have to work hard to get here. And there are other countries Americans could move to that are in the same time zone as the US if all we were looking for is inexpensive healthcare. We pay significantly, personally, more taxes and social contributions here in France than we would if we were living and working in the US as self-employed people. And you know what? I feel great about that because I'm part of creating the kind of society I want to live in. I love that I never have to wonder if my neighbor gets cancer and they need treatment, they will be able to get it.
Yeah, the Americans, us included, who choose France do so because they love the country and they find that the French lifestyle and the values, well, they align with their own ideals. In fact, I think most retirees we meet are shocked when they learn that they're not required to pay in, and many have asked us for specific steps on how they can go around this and contribute into the system. How is it even possible? It's just not.
No. And there's something else that I have yet to see mentioned in any of these discussions, which is At 65 years old in the US, Americans finally get access to reliable, stable, affordable coverage in the form of Medicare, which they pay for their whole lives. And many American retirees actually, even when they decide to move to France, they keep paying for their Medicare, which they cannot use in France back in the US because they actually plan to return to the US someday as their age advances and they feel that they probably will want to be close to their family again. And they don't want to be penalized by the US government for not paying for it while they were out of the country when they return.
Yeah.
Yes, that happens.
So, I mean, you can choose to opt out of this payment,
Right.
and many people choose not to.
Yeah.
I think if people were coming to France for the free healthcare, why would they keep paying for coverage that they're not even using back at home? I just don't think they would, and the story doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. So, additionally, I've seen a lot of talk about this as if this changes, we'll just fix the whole national French debt problem. But let's talk about the real numbers associated with this, okay? So last year in 2024, about 14,000 Americans got visas to move to France. Historically, we know that usually about half of the visas issued to Americans are for students who come to France and complete their studies and then will most likely go back to the US afterwards. Then there's many more of those that are working age people who received entrepreneur or work visas and pay monthly social charges like everyone else that's working in France. So that leaves us with, we're talking about, I don't know, something probably less than 5,000 people per year. That is like a drop in the bucket out of a country of 68 million people.
Yeah, and meaning that the actual financial effect of American retirees is really tiny in the scale of the country, the budget, the overall healthcare system. It just doesn't make a bit of difference. But this is still important from both a symbolic and maybe an equality point of view.
Right.
Giving American retirees more or better ways to contribute into the social system that they're joining here in France, it gives them a way to participate in and be part of the French values that initially drew them here and that they like.
Yeah.
Especially that French ideal of fraternity or solidarity, the belief that society should be caring for everyone that's involved. I know when we moved here, it just felt very different, somewhat refreshing compared to the more individualistic society in the US that we were raised in, where everyone operates more like a Mad Max type of everyone for himself type of environment.
Yeah. And at this point in the video, it brings me to the fireside chat I would like to have with my fellow Americans
Sit back,
watching
Americans,
this.
grab some coffee. Raina's got to go for a while.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay. There's like this mindset shift, I think, that we don't even realize needs to happen as Americans when we move to another culture, specifically one like that's set up like France. I think that a lot of retired Americans believe they are contributing when they move to France because they spend money in local shops, they pay VAT, they hire tradespeople, they renovate old homes, they pay property taxes. Like
that's all true, for sure.
Right.
That's all really great.
Yes.
It definitely brings kind of new money into the economy, money that's coming in from outside of France that wouldn't otherwise be here.
Absolutely.
Can be a huge benefit for kind of local economies and small areas in the country.
Yeah, I think our village is actually an example of that.
Yeah.
But let's not kid ourselves here,
Yeah.
because the French people around us, they're paying all those same things too, on top of paying their social contributions and taxes that support the healthcare in France. So, fellow Americans, I just want you to know that it can sound a bit arrogant to insist that the French should be grateful you are paying a few of the taxes, which they are also paying, because when it comes down to it, while it's great, buying baguettes is just not the same as funding hospitals.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think it's also relevant to say this kind of isn't entirely our fault as far as the fact that it's the way we think about things, because we've never seen anything else until we get here.
We don't know anything different.
Yeah, that's not an excuse. It's just like an admission of sort of our lack of worldview. I mean, we are told our whole lives when we're living in the US, which is quite the capitalistic society, that a lot of our value to society is in being a participating consumer. Like, that's how we talk about ourselves. And that is how we support our society, by buying things. If you think I'm making this up, Google the speech that George W. gave after the planes hit the World Trade Center buildings on September 11th, 2000. Americans were like eagerly looking for ways to, help put the country back together and support each other. And our president told us to go shopping.
Be a good consumer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Americans are raised with this idea, as crazy as it sounds, that spending money equals being patriotic. So that's just the thought we come with. Yeah.
And, definitely while this economic activity, it helps, real solidarity is built through a shared contribution. And most Americans who are here, when they understand the system, they also want to contribute. And they're kind of shocked that they just can't. Let's remember that this whole issue exists in part because France and the U.S. have a long history of friendship. A French person who's moving to the U.S., they also benefit from the tax treaty. They can access Medicare, U.S. healthcare, after a certain period of legal residence in the U.S., even if they haven't had a long history of paying into it.
And if an American is still living and residing in France when they die, a large part of their estate goes to the French government through inheritance tax, far more than they would ever pay if they died in the U.S.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
So financially, in the big picture, there is some give and take and balance between the two countries overall.
Yeah, and I think the really concerning thing here to us is less about a few thousand retirees and their doctor visits and the funding for them. It's more about the tone that's going on TV, in the articles that we see going on around us. It's just the way that it's being discussed.
Right, because it's actually a simple policy thing that could just be changed. It's about the discourse around it.
Yeah, the kind of the suspicion, the nationalism, that us versus them, the framing of the whole issue, it's not fraternity.
Or at least what we've learned it to be so
even
far.
The proposed legislation that we've seen isn't even targeting the wealthy Americans who are the centerpiece of the discussion and the drama. Instead, it targets all non-European immigrants who are arriving on visitor visas.
And the discussion around it, just like that whole, that air of fear and paranoia and assumptions about motives, I feel like it's that same paranoia and nationalism that is tearing through America right now and makes me sad.
Yeah, feels like a horrible repeat.
And when people stop seeing newcomers as humans who are assumed to have good intentions and want to join and participate in society and just start seeing them uniformly as threats or someone who's going to take their stuff, I feel like that starts to fracture society, and we're seeing that in the extreme right now in some places.
We do hope that there's a way to improve the French social system that keeps the French ideal of shared humanity at the forefront of the discussion. And it also allows all French residents to contribute to the social system equitably. But it doesn't descend into vilifying, targeting, or punishing immigrant residents for just following the law as it exists. There's a real danger when people or groups identify a basic human right, like healthcare here is in France, and they start building roadblocks or unique exclusions that start to chip away at the universality of all of it.
Yeah. So it's an honor and a privilege to be welcomed here in France.
Absolutely.
We can figure this out, and we're all in this together.
Thanks for watching.